bombing,
What?
Oklahoma City bombing. I was 2 blocks away, and the assassination of John Kennedy.
Okie doke. So my first event would be the Challenger explosion. I was 11 years old, happened in I was 10 years old, happened in 1986. I was in 5th grade in Mrs. Davis' class. What up, Miss Davis? How you doing? We actually, it's that time in your life, obviously you enjoy having lunch with your teacher. So I had the privilege that day of myself and another friend or classmate. We had lunch with our teacher and we were watching the news, watching the Challenger take off, and just so happened that day the Challenger disaster happened. Obviously the shuttle exploded and everyone on board unfortunately passed away, but that was something that sticks with me to this day. I remember it just like it was yesterday. Sitting in there eating my nice square pizza and drinking my juice and watching that happen. Kind of not really realizing at the time what magnitude that had, but that was one thing. The next thing would be, for me, would be getting the news that I was in high school at the time, here at Athens Drive, go Jacks. I think I want to say I was in the 10th grade, maybe, or 11th grade, when we found out that Magic Johnson was HIV positive. So being a huge sports fan, loving basketball and among other sports, and recognizing him as an icon, it would be equated to someone like LeBron James this day and age, finding out he was HIV positive. So for me at that particular time, finding out someone of that magnitude was HIV positive made the whole HIV/AIDS epidemic at that time real for a lot of people my age. And next would be, for me, would probably be the death of Biggie and or Tupac. In college at that particular time, and recognizing again how those two gentlemen affected my life both on a positive and sometimes negative situation, because in that point in the hip hop business or game, it was a whole big East Coast versus West Coast kind of deal. Even to the point where folks in college, where you had guys who were from the West Coast aligned themselves with Tupac, and guys who were from the East Coast also felt a certain way about Tupac. So those 3 things had a definite effect on my life.
Okay, so Sesame Street was invented the year after I was born, and even though it's not this like big dramatic thing, it's changed the way that people like kind of engage their kids in learning at home, and I definitely benefited from it as a kid watching Sesame Street. I still remember like songs and little blurbs and that were on the TV show from when I was a kid. So it definitely made me love learning and reading, and so that kind of pushed me to become a librarian, which I am now. So that was definitely affecting me. And then when I was in 7th grade was when September 11th happened, and it kind of like opened my eyes to the fact that there was like a world bigger than just my like little town and my school, and that it was the first time that I saw like adults be scared, and so that was an important like kind of part of my life, being in middle school. Like you're all of a sudden realizing that like adults are not perfect. So I think that was a time that I like started to learn that people have like lots of different opinions about like how to react to crazy events like that, and you kind of have to form your own opinion and your own beliefs. So that was one way that it affected me. And now I guess it's been really cool living in a time where a woman is finally running for president. So seeing Hillary Clinton just kind of trying to break down barriers for women is really empowering, and even just like seeing so many women who are CEOs and like running companies kind of gives me like hope and empowerment to try to strive and achieve and do my best in everything.
When JFK was assassinated, I was in my kitchen planning a Christian fundraising event when 9/11 happened.
Well, your dad went in to get something.
I had just had him. He was just a tiny baby when God of, no, what was his name? He was the head of Egypt. Who was the head of Egypt who was assassinated?
Anwar Sadat.
Anwar Sadat was assassinated. I remember that. Those three.
It's wedding day, and then I watched their wedding in the TV was a black and white, and I always remember her wedding gown. And then after I see her wedding gown, which was a big long tail, and then with the detail, and after I see her wedding gown, I always pretend myself as a Lady Diana. I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna have a long tail gown. And the second event that I remember in my life affected it was 1999, was the Berlin Wall, which was broke down. And then I see that event in the TV. That time also was a big thing in Europe when I was in Turkey. So it affected most people's life, and then the way of people looking at the life. And that was the second event. And the third event in my life, I remember vividly, which was 2001, September 11th. And I was in New York City. I was living in New York City. And then that day I was visiting my friend in New Jersey, which was her house, was very close to the New York downtown view. And we heard the first airplane hit the Tower 1. We heard it from Turkey. It was funny. My friend's father called from Turkey in the morning. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. Wake us up. He said, "Wake up!" And then there is a airplane crash in New York. It was funny. We didn't take him serious, and we went outside. And I remember I was wearing my pajamas. All of us with pajamas. Step outside, and then we were watching the tower burning. And at that time was like almost 10 o'clock, I think, exactly, I don't remember. And then the second airplane got hit. Then everybody was frustrated, and then everybody started running all over. I mean, I see many people that are running up to their cars and try to get away from their house. And then we were thinking that was the war, and then we have to find a way somehow get away from the city.
Okay, so three historical events that affected you in your childhood or in your
Well,
lifetime.
you know, it's hard to believe, but the end of World War II, I remember that very well. I know that there were a lot of people that were real happy. And I vaguely remember the bombing of Pearl Harbor, but not real good.
How did that affect you? How did you feel?
Well, like everybody else, I felt like it was a disaster. Then especially when the president announced that we were going to be in war. And I mean, I was old enough to understand what was going on, and that affected me. So those are about the three major things. The shuttle that exploded, that I had, it had an effect on me, because, I thought that was the end of the space program, but it wasn't. They didn't give up. So really, that's it.
I was living in Boston when the marathon bombs happened. That was pretty impactful. They shut down work, shut down everything. I was getting some originally from Cleveland, and people always email me, everything okay? 9/11. I remember on the way home from a training class, everybody's looking at the sky, see what's going on, because of the planes. Let's see, what else? The third one. I had that at the tip of my tongue. The astronauts. The space shuttle.
That's right.
Yeah, the space shuttle, both times. So there's just four. We had four. So that was pretty good. I remember.